So, we are back for another podcast. We've got another special guest this week, a little bit different than our usual, people like Julie, Michael, who have, been in massive corporations and been there, and they've obviously taken their experience and their advice and put it into practice, which is great. Today, we've got a very good friend of mine on, who is another business owner, tech startup, the next unicorn maybe. Jordan Gilmour, who is the founder and CEO of BizPix. He's a rare sort, very much like myself, sales orientated. Customer experience is key, and knows the glamorous lifestyle of running your own business whilst working.
Very much
Glorious
so.
hours. So welcome, Jordan. How are we?
Thank you very much, Jack. Thanks for having me.
No problem. No problem at all. How has the week started off for yourself? It's Monday. We were meant to do this on Saturday, but someone was a little bit under the weather.
Unfortunately, yes, someone was. It was terrible, Jack. You shouldn't have phoned me last minute and done that.
Yeah, I know. It was
Yeah.
terrible, but I've just came from the gym. Feel really good to get this in the diary finally at 7:45 on a Monday, because I've got nothing else to do but speak to you. So thanks for coming along, mate. Thank you.
More than welcome. But as we just said, that's the glorious and glamorous lifestyle of running your own business. There isn't exactly a 9 to 5, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this, even if they are, corporate management, anyone in the kind of leadership role, that we all kind of know that 9 to 5 is it's a myth we all make up. If you want to be successful in business, unfortunately, you need to put in as much time and effort as you can. So I'm more than happy to be along here and have a chat with you. So again, thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah. I'll do the 9 to 5, then I do the business. I try and sneak in the gym, try and have a social life. It's difficult to balance, 100%. We'll get on to that though, about like the myths, like what you said, the myths of what is running a small startup like. It isn't as
Yeah.
easy. There's so many businesses that go out of business 1, 2, year 3, 4, and 5 as well. But in that first year, it's pivotal to be successful and put as much time, effort, grit into it to get it to some form of, this is working now, or not even this is working, maybe not even from a revenue or group like profit point, but from a sort of appreciation point of view of, I'm proud of that and I'm going to give myself a big gold
100%.
star. But we'll get on to
100%.
that in a bit later. So tell me, obviously I know about BizPix. To anyone out there, and we're still obviously going to be talking leadership quite broadly, because you've got a bit of a different strategy to what I have. So what is BizPix? Obviously a tech startup. We're gunning for you to be the next unicorn, mate. But tell us.
Me too.
Yeah, I bet you are. Tell us though, what is
as are my investors and my team. But yeah, so essentially we started a couple of years ago in Edinburgh, and essentially we kind of got born out of the pandemic. Essentially what BizPix is a citywide interactive platform that essentially is an app that you download on your phone, and it essentially turns your city into essentially one big game, where you get to go to different kind of bars, restaurants, shops, and take part in their individual challenge in order to earn points. And the more points you earn, the more points you earn after you earn like 5 or 6 points, you essentially get to pick something for free for any of those businesses. So it's a really good way to kind of encourage like young individuals to be going to these like local businesses and promoting what makes their city special. And it's fantastic for the businesses, because not only does it get people in the door, the whole idea behind BizPix is every time you take part in a challenge, you have to post on social media. So it's given small local businesses a fantastic chance to expand their reach, without having to do things like pay for expensive ads, or for brick and mortar businesses. Sometimes it can be a struggle to kind of reach that different demographic. A lot of them tend to kind of fall into who comes through the door. And what we want to do at BizPix is kind of help them increase that, but through their own customer bases, through their friends of their friends, and give them a really, really good, straightforward marketing scheme that not only gives them the more customers, but actually puts money in the till as well. And that's something that, because of COVID, we, especially myself, became quite passionate about. I felt, not to speak too specifically about certain situations, but I definitely felt a lot of businesses were kind of being left hung out to dry. And, you know, it's all good for, you know, obviously governments and stuff need time to react, but Jack, me and you both know, running small businesses, a week, 2 weeks, a couple of days even can be the difference between operation and not. And we
100%.
kind of felt that, exactly. And we kind of felt that we wanted to put together a platform that we could bring small kind of, pubs, restaurants, these kind of small kind of local high street businesses, and we could give them an extremely cost effective way and in a fun way to kind of engage with new customers after the pandemic kind of started to slow down, in order to bring those people back in. And instead of them going, right, wow, we managed to make it through this, we gritted our teeth, we done everything we could, how do we rebuild our business? And that's something that a lot of people are now starting to ask that question, and we are just genuinely here to help them do that. So yeah, that's BizPix.
Yeah, and something that I was talking about previously, right? Because what you're talking about is sort of organic reach, marketing, all these things that a lot of what you sort of refer to as the brick and mortar businesses, and that saying of we've always done it this way, like it's one of the worst sayings in any business. I've been in tons of businesses that,
100%.
well, this is the way that we've done it, and you know, you're looking at it going, well, that potentially isn't the best way. It's maybe, I'm not saying it's the wrong way, but there's a lot of businesses that get put into that trap of, well, we've always done it this way, we're not pivoting, we're not. And we did see that as well in COVID, where there's businesses on the high street now that are no longer there, you know, and online as well. It's happened everywhere.
Yeah, I think if I was going to be deadly honest and upfront, do you know what it is? In my personal experience, it's because they have something that works. And I think a lot of people get scared to deviate from that because they're scared the other thing isn't going to work. And what happens in business is, you know, we all have this kind of, a lot of entrepreneurs, you know, we're always like, I'm going to be the next Jeff Bezos or Richard Branson or any of these sort of things. In reality, most of us, you know, if we're lucky enough, we're going to have quite a good business. It's going to turn over. We're going to be able to pay our staff quite well. And we're going to be able to have the lifestyle we want. You know, if things are successful.
Freedom.
And I think what happens, freedom's a great word. But I think what happens is a lot of people get that. A lot of people get that freedom, and then they get really scared of losing it, and that's why they don't want to deviate. And I think, obviously,
why do you think that is?
Because of how much they value it, because of how much, you know, look, again, we're both entrepreneurs, and you know, you tend to sit there and you go, you know, I've put 2 years into this. I've put all this time, all this money, all this effort. I've grinded on the phone. I've grinded going door to door. I've done these things. And to lose all that, done all that effort and to lose it, I think people, that's I don't want to say scared because that's disingenuous, but that's what makes them anxious about it. That they don't want to make it for nothing. And I think that especially during the pandemic showed where lots of businesses kind of froze. They just didn't know what to do because it was different. They had to change.
I'm with you.
But in the exact same,
we did. Yeah. We stood still. Not, I don't want to say stood still, but obviously events restricted. We had an event on the March, the April. Everything was going well. We had, I think, 20 plus tickets. We had a 10-pack that was sitting there. And then on the day, I called, and I remember it so well of Jack, we've just seen the news. We're just going to hold off. And that at that point was make or break for the business. Because
100%.
When businesses, you know, I've not got Dragon's Den investors coming at me, just chucking piles of cash at it until it works. You know, like this is money that's came from savings, from my salary on a 9 to 5 to actually get it to a point. Like, you know, I was listening to a couple of podcasts lately, and we've discussed it, the diary of CEO. and I was listening to the Gymshark founder, and he said something really, really, which I think I can relate with, and probably you can as well, because you're in the same, not in the same, but in a similar situation as if you've got 50 quid for your marketing budget, you need to do something with that. And that is really hard
100%.
when demographic, for instance, yours is obviously, let's get as many people in Edinburgh involved. Now, obviously, I remember we went out and we helped, obviously, with yourself with putting out the boxes to all the businesses. Now, you couldn't invest and pay everyone that day. So you said, right, I've got all these boxes, you've paid for them at a good sort of good acquisition value for what you put in the boxes. Then you said, I'm going to buy you pizza. Now that's 50 quid, let's just say. But that was your marketing to get out. Obviously, mine's a little bit different. I'm looking at professionals, so there's GDPR involved, and you can't just buy data left, right, and centre and off Joe Blogs down the street. But I think
we all wish you could. But yes, I understand what you mean.
Yeah, I know. I wish there was a golden, like any marketing funnel or sales funnel, I wish there was a little golden pot, but that's not the case. But I think a lot of businesses, resistance is probably the word. I think from the high street as well, because COVID wasn't nice to the high street. We've seen that for the past 2 years.
Unfortunately, COVID hit brick and mortar businesses the hardest, I would say. Apart from specific industries like the events industry, you know as well as I did, I worked in the events industry pre-COVID, and the events industry just stood still because we all, every single one of us looked at each other and went,
how do you pivot? And I think that's all right if you're an established company, and I've seen them, I've got competitors as well. Not that I look at them, but when you've got that financial backing and that capital and that, the funds there to pivot, it is easy. It's really, and I'm not saying it's easy in a sort of to downplay it, because systems change. People lost their jobs in every industry I can think of, but it's easy to pivot when you've got the backing or the financial capital behind to pivot, where a lot of these businesses on the high street, I'm not saying all, but a vast majority at the start probably couldn't pivot because they weren't on.
Well, see, I think going on to that, I think what's really interesting there is about like a lot of kind of businesses, that are on the high street. Again, if we're talking pubs, barbers, shops, these sort of businesses, what tends to happen, in my personal experience, is it's not that the money isn't there, but you need to remember that someone spent their entire life building this business, and they would probably do anything for it. But when you have something like COVID, where there's no light at the end of that tunnel, so you can sit there and you can go, I've got 10 grand, I've got 20 grand, I've got 3 million, but you don't know how much of that you're going to have to put in to see that end of the tunnel. And I think a lot of businesses did try, and that was one of the things, as I said earlier on, that really kind of got to me, where we had businesses that even we've got on our platform, businesses that we've spoke to and stuff, that they put 50, 60, 70, 100, 200,000 pound in, and they still felt that like there wasn't that support. I understand furlough was fantastic, but and it was something that was a lifeline for us all, but they definitely still felt that furlough was stopped. Furlough, we're going to do it, we're going to not do it, this is how much it's going to be. And as I said, a couple of days in business can be make or break. But going back to what you said with the £50 marketing budget as well, is I think that these are the things that do make you an entrepreneur. It's about understanding what your means are and then building up from that. And I think after you've done that, it's about keeping that mindset. Because when you get to the point of you've got a business and you're established and you've got that 50 grand in the bank, I do think too many people lean on it. They need to, in my personal opinion, go back to thinking, like when crises happen, right? What if I only had £50 in the bank? How would I reach my customer base? I'm not saying that's always possible. I'm not suggesting IBM turn their marketing budget into £50 tomorrow. I'm just simply saying that I think what happens is a lot of people, when they get an established business, they have that kind of anxiety when things aren't going their way. And instead of going back to thinking the way they did 10 years ago and being an entrepreneur, they go, oh, but what if I lose this? And I think that's when the panic sets in. Which, again, I'm not, I'm not calling anyone out or anything like that. I mean, I'm sure you've done it. I'm sure I've done it. I know there's been weeks, end of weeks where I've been going, oh my God, like, how are we actually going to like do this and thing it? And of course you panic. That's just human nature. But I think the businesses that get through it are the ones that can do that and keep that calm and keep that cool. And I think the last 2 years has definitely showed it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is. When I went full time for a stretch, when everything felt like it was going just before COVID, everything was going in the right direction. Money was coming in, like having really good conversations, getting a bit established, I guess, and getting a foothold into this is what the business is, this is what we do, this is why it is important. And then boom, COVID happened, and you have to sit there. I have financial commitments as well. I mean, that all stops, and you look and go, right, I need to make a change here. It's really difficult, I think, as an entrepreneur. Probably happens in businesses as well, because you said at the very beginning, do you know what I mean? There is no 9 to 5. You can, if you want to have a career laden career and move up the rank, which there's nothing wrong with. I don't want to do it for 40 years personally. I want to have a successful career, but I do not. I don't see that as. And this could come back to haunt me in many ways, but I don't.
Yeah, remember you're putting this out to people.
Yeah, I know, but I want to be successful if I am working for a business or working on my own. How I do that, I want to still have that freedom. If that be, I come to work at 9 and I leave at 5. You need to have the work-life balance, the boundaries to still be able to fulfill what your career goals are. And you know what? I think everyone's happy with the odd, like, all right, this report needs to get done. This is what needs to happen. Like, everyone is, I think, if you want to be successful, is quite aware that you need to put in that extra work.
Well, see, this is, I think that's a fantastic point, and mainly because I think the way we, this is me going off on a tangent here, so I do apologize, but I think really the way we think about business and success, like I've for a long time thought is wrong, because if what you want out of your life, your working life, is work-life balance, and you can go and you can earn enough money to sustain yourself and have that work-life balance, I think more power to you. I don't understand this idea of this idea. Oh, I didn't leave the office till 8 o'clock, bragging about it. I've never understood that. No. I'm not taking away from that person. They work really, really hard, and they're doing it for the success. But I don't look at either of those people as one is more successful than the other, because like everything needs that effort. But if you're happy with that work-life balance, then more power to you. I think that's a fantastic thing. And I think one thing we do need to be teaching, obviously a lot of your courses and stuff are based around leadership and management and that sort of stuff. I think a lot of things that we need to be teaching, especially younger entrepreneurs and younger business people as they're coming through, is define what you want. So many people think they're chasing, like, money, I want to be a millionaire.
Money and the Ferrari, and I want the big 6 mansion, but they don't understand what the energy bill is going to be, and we've worked in energy, so we definitely know.
Yeah, well, that's that. That's a good point. But this is the thing. It's not like maybe you defined what you want really, like earlier on. Like one of the things you really want is freedom. One of the things I really want is to try and like make a difference. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think we both agree if money's a byproduct of that, we're both going to be extremely happy with it. But it's about defining what you want in your career, and that's what I think makes a good entrepreneur.
I think early on, I definitely went in with that mindset that I am going to make this amount of money. And do you know what I mean? I've done financials, I've put them together, and if we do this, this is what this will turn out as. And we have to do them, but that's what forecasting is all about. That's where you couldn't go into a Dragon's Den pitch and say, "Where's your numbers?" I don't have any numbers. I've just got a really good idea. Just got a really good idea, and I know what I want out of it. And it's not money. I just want to be able to go to the beach, you need obviously the money to get to that. Understand that, but it's not now anyway. It's not my ambition. I think COVID probably taught us that you can be happy with pretty simple things. And I don't know what it was. A few weeks ago, I was just sitting out the back, and I was happy. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just things that
Well,
just
it's quite funny that you've brought that up because COVID actually showed me I wasn't. Like I was working in the events industry. I was doing quite well. I'd worked with the company I'd worked that I was working with. It was a great organization, and we had pivoted. We'd managed to come up with a whole different array of products in order to keep us going. And I really liked the environment and stuff. And I thought I was like, right, I'm going to be here for a while. And then during COVID, and I just changed. My mindset just went, I was like, I don't want to do this. I wasn't happy. I went back to work for a wee while, and it got to the point that I realized that it wasn't anything around. I just wasn't happy with what I was doing. And but that was a great thing. I learned so much of that organization. I got taught so many, as I said, entrepreneurial things. Like I get taught like 90% or 50% of what I brought into my business, I learned from there. And I think that was, we can look at all the negatives last year like we have last couple of years, but then I think there's the positives as well. I think what COVID's really going to do is it's going to change a lot of businesses, hopefully for the better. It's going to allow a lot of people to work from home a lot more. And I think it showed a lot of young people and stuff. Like, you've got probably a year in the house, like you can do something with this. You can start to build something. You can start to put something together. It doesn't matter if that's writing a book or going to the gym more or building a business. But and I think that's something that weirdly enough is it was a positive that came out the last 2 years as well.
yeah, 100%. And it's a sort of like, I don't want to say silver lining because it's horrible the last 2 years and so many people
Yeah.
made that sort of ultimate sacrifice. But I think, and this is, I think, what business owners or entrepreneurs, whatever, I hate the word entrepreneur, but I think when you're in that position where if you are working like I am working 9 to 5, and then do you know what I mean? I'm up at God knows what time in the morning sometimes, and then I'm up to God time in the morning, and it's game day. But I still have to be on my game for the 9-5. So it's finding that balance. But I think what people are trying to do now is just have an idea of what they want and go for it. And I think I've seen that more often now, where people are sort of, no, and I don't want to swear, but I think there's no other way to do it, but they just don't give a shit. And I say that in the nicest way, where people are making time for people that they want to spend time with. They want, they're doing things that they want to do. They're going on holiday to places that they want to go, not just because, it's a great Insta photo, or do you know what I mean? The people are experiencing things that are they've wanted to do for maybe number of years. And I think that's.
But I think in business though, that really showed. I think so many people decided they weren't happy with what they were doing and did go and start companies. So many people decided actually they did really like what they did. I think so many people pivoted in such the correct way. Some people didn't, and that's okay as well. It's not a bad thing. We all do different things in our lives, and I'm not going to call them a mistake because you don't know if they're a mistake 4, 3, 5 years down the line. But like I think it was, again, I hate the phrase it was a silver lining, because you're right. Like we can never look back at the last kind of couple of years and go, how great was that? But we do need. I do think we can look back, and there's some things that I do think of enlightened people a wee bit more. And I think when it comes to again, things like we're talking about, whether it's business and entrepreneurship, leadership, management, I think it's great to highlight, because I think it showed so many people they could be leaders. They could run their own business. They could take that step up to management. And I think that's something that each individual, they know if it's been good for them or not. And I think that's
I think development, and I think development in so many ways is just learning about yourself, and that is the ultimate way to be a better leader, or be a better person, to be a better partner, to be a better friend, family, whatever that may be. You need to look at yourself and look in the mirror or write it down. Where are you at? Where do you want to be? And if that be, like we said, if that's your career, if that's you want to be the next CEO of Apple, or you want to have, little medium SME that's ticking
Yeah.
along, and you can hire a couple of staff, and you can sort of not take a step back, but you're in the fold, but you have the opportunity to have a bit more freedom. Great, good on you, but you need to develop along the way. And I think
Yep.
one thing that obviously we want to discuss, and we've discussed it in the past, is this sort of image of, and it's still to this day something that really annoys me, which is you can work obviously 9 to 5 for someone and
Mm-hmm.
run your own small business. Do you know what I mean? There's that many good things that have came out, or so many massive organizations that have came off of that. And I think there's still that little bit of like, what are you doing here? Well, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
what do you
I
think I'm
think.
doing? Like I work my socks off every single day,
Yep.
and like I said, gym, spend time with family, friends, work, business on the side,
Yep.
and you have to balance all these things, right? And there's a lot of plates, and do you know what? Sometimes one or two are going to smash, but
Yep.
for if you are running a business and you're still working for someone in an organization, the one plate that cannot smash is that one that is the 9 to 5, if that's your main income, because
Yeah.
you can have an off night from your business. And I think the reputation that goes along with business owners is it's sort of a negative one when you're building
Yeah.
a company, which is you're and to go in another direction as well, or the second bit of that question, I would say, is if you're an entrepreneur, you have to work. And I've fallen in, or I've fallen, and probably still am in this trap where tonight probably won't. I'll have a shower, I'll get myself ready, but I'll be sitting at the laptop till 12, 1 a.m. in the morning doing a marketing strategy,
Yeah.
planning posts, training material for upcoming events, emailing people, scheduling them back for 8 o'clock, because who wants an email from me at 12 o'clock at night? Then getting to
Yeah.
bed for 12:30, getting up at 6, then going to the gym, going to work,
100%.
making sure that everything in your life, paying bills, car, all this type of stuff is still happening.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get told, oh, you work too much, or do you know what I mean? Like there's still this
Yeah.
connotation where it's like burnout, like you need to work your socks off, and I don't think that's the truth. I just think people don't understand how much time is involved in the very
Yeah.
early stages.
I definitely, I've genuinely so much to say on this because there's so many different ways to look at it. I mean, so I started my career a long time ago as a sports coach. That's what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I was going to work in sport, and I was starting to run events at a really young age. I think I was at 15 or 16, and I was running disability events, basketball events, and stuff like that. And it's kind of where my career started. And I remember someone that I respect quite a lot took me aside and went, "You need to be careful. You're going to burn yourself out." And to be deadly honest, I did. I distinctly remember I was at university and I was trying to, like, again, meet new people, have that social life, do well in my grades. I had a part-time job, and I was also trying to, like, run events and start clubs and stuff up at my university in Stirling. And it just completely burned me out. But what I also noticed as well is this is when it's about surrounding yourself with the right people, because what I find so much, especially when it comes to businesses, I've worked with businesses before that have known that I've owned my own company, and some that haven't. Some have found out and not took it well. Like, some have found out that I've owned, I've ran events, or I've owned BizPix in the last 2 years, and some people have been quite really, like, you immediately feel a tension, happen, where they go,
Negative,
oh wait,
like, yeah, like a
yeah,
bit of
like, I,
what's this, and that's the only thing they can focus on. They don't maybe focus on your abilities to, well, being a small business owner, you wear many hats, and you hear all these successful people who have done it. And I would like, and I think both of us would like to get to that point someday. But when you're doing it continually for a few years, when you are spinning all these plates, my English is terrible written. I would much rather speak and get on the phone. That's what I've been doing for the past 10 years plus.
I'm the same, so you're fine.
And yeah, but the fact, I think you learn so much in a business. Now, my view is, and you know, something that I want to do once we get to a certain stage in the business is, you know, in schools, for instance,
Mhm.
get young people to start an online business or a business of that they're interested in,
Yeah.
if that be, you know, Lego or something like that, and have that facility to teach them, because you learn so much about IT, about marketing, about business, about finance. How does it work? How do you
Yeah.
speak to people? How do you build stakeholder relationships? Because you can't build a business just on a fancy website, a nice logo, and a really good mission statement. You need
Well,
to sell
BizFix
it.
have just started. Yeah, we've just started our what we're calling as our education and charity program, where we're actually giving any business that puts education or charity first, like free on our platform, and we've done it specifically for that reason.
Yeah.
Because you're 100% right. It's about taking, like, you know, like education businesses, taking young entrepreneurs and helping them like do like what they need to, but teaching them the right way. Because as I said there, like I do feel when you say, oh, I'm going to open up my own business, like you know, it'll be things like you send it out
But
to your
you're
friends
not,
on Facebook,
yeah,
and
you're not gonna
yeah,
make it.
and you
Good
yeah,
luck.
yeah, it's silly things like you know, like people go, like you'll talk about it, and people go, I don't want to buy it, and you're like, yeah, I'm not selling you it. I can't, like, I'm not selling, like you're not a small business. There's nothing to sell. Or for you, like, no, you're not a lawyer, like I don't want you to come to my event. And it's interesting because not everyone's like that. I mean, I'm really lucky. I've got really supportive family and lots of really supportive friends. And as I said, I'm working with a business right now that's extremely supportive of what I do. But that's what, like, going back to what we were saying earlier as well, is it's about surrounding yourself with the right people and the right attitudes, and deciding the right goals and what you want to do. And then when you have got to a point where you're comfortable, then give it back. And understanding that, you know what, you know, if I ever had someone come work for me, and they said I was going to start their own business, unless they were a direct competitor with
Yeah,
me,
yeah, that's
um,
exactly what I was thinking.
yeah, like, don't get me wrong, if someone came, I'm going to start this new platform, I'd be like, nah, well, we need to have a chat about that. But
Cease and
you
desist
know,
letter
someone,
straight away.
yeah, yeah, I'm just sit there while I write this. No, but if they came and went, I don't know, I'm going to go and I start my own gin, or you know, my own online business, or any of these sort of things, like, I truly mean all like this. All they would get is support from me, because as an entrepreneur, as someone who's went through that process of building a business, I know how hard it is, and I know how tough it is, and I know how much you learn, and I know if I support that
It's a big
person,
step. It's a big
yeah,
step.
but two things are going to happen, okay? Like, genuinely, two things are going to happen, okay? One, they're a success, okay, and you get to be part of that person's success because
Watch
you
it.
supported them. Or, okay, it doesn't work out, that's fine. They come back and work for you full time, and you know they've learned 7,000 more things that can help you. And I'm not saying you should be wanting them to fail. I'm genuinely, I mean, that's your two options. Either they're really successful and you get to feed off that and build on that and start, partnering with their business and, doing things like podcasts and stuff, and helping each other out, or they get to come back more knowledgeable and understanding. And to me, that's just a win-win. And
Yeah.
so many people are just so scared of losing good talent. They get so scared. And the problem is, see, the minute you do that to, like, your best salesperson or your best marketer, or any of these people, all you do is push that person away. So they might not actually go and start their own business, but they know they don't want to work for you now. And that's how it kind of works, because they don't want to tell you, like, oh, I've had this idea. Well, they don't want to tell you anymore, because they know, when a performance review or something comes up, it's a case of, well, maybe your performance is dipped because you've got a business, or maybe my performance hasn't actually dipped at all. Maybe
And
you're finding that.
it's your leadership or management that's actually drove me to the point of despair. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think we've all been
yeah.
there. But obviously, I just want to touch on that, right? That exact bit, because I remember obviously, to give clarity, me and Jordan worked at an energy company that is
Yeah, we did.
no longer with us, and rest in peace.
I was going to say you could take a guess which one, but you can't now.
There's
that many,
there's unfortunately
unfortunately.
that many.
Yeah.
But I remember quite clear as day. You say, "Oh, can I have 2 minutes?" Now this is when we were still in COVID. We were all working from home. It was a brand new department team as well that we set up, and you were obviously at this point you were starting business, or I wouldn't say starting. You've already started it, and you were wanting a little bit less stress from a management role, which been there, done it, and yes, it's stressful.
I'm glad I didn't pick that management role.
Yeah, and you said, "Oh, I don't know how this is going to go down," or along that, I'm ad-libbing. I've not, I can't remember word for word, but pretty much, I've got this business. I just wanted to make sure that like you're all right with it. And I went, "Oh yeah, mate, all good." Like power to like what you said, power to you. Like tell me a bit about it, actually. And it did take me a few times, which you can adhere to. That it took a bit of time to sink in my head, but it never drove performance. It never dipped any of your performance. I think you're probably the best or second best in the entire team. Was I was managing, and there was people who in that team, and you know what, like that, it comes down to training, management from me, leadership from me, but they didn't have anything. Do you know what I mean? Like they weren't doing crazy.
I think it's about rewarding hard work, whether it's necessarily hard work for the business or without the business. I've worked with people in the past that, like I really just had a really hard weekend, or my son's sick, or my daughter's this, or whatever it is, and I think truthfully, and obviously people watch this and they'll make their own opinions, but my opinion is the way, especially the UK is going with mental health and all that sort of stuff, it will become a manager and a leader's job to deal with these things. I'm not saying they need to phone their husband and work out their problems or make their child unsick. I just mean that I do think gone are the days where, you're told, Jessica needs to sell more. We'll tell Jessica if she doesn't sell more, she's fired. I think that's gone as a motivation. I think what we are very much moving to is speaking, understanding, being a leader, building that up and saying, right, what can we do for you, rather than it being the other way about. And, this isn't just based on me saying that. This is, loads of studies and stuff have came out to make this argument. When you start getting things...
I think there is going to be a tidal wave of change, and it's going to affect the massive companies, because there'll be lawsuits, there'll be this, that, the other. Do you know what I mean? It will be in the press, and once a couple of companies get it, it's like dominoes. It's a domino effect. There's still a lot of companies out there, though, that are still very, very process driven, and I've like we've spoken about it numerous times, with a few beers, because that's how fun our conversations are at times after a couple of bevies, which is like we talk about management and leadership and how would you approach this and what's your thoughts on this, and this is what's happened, this is what I've done. And I've been in situations, being on the other side, being approached by a manager, and maybe the conversation's not went a certain way, because it's like, well, you don't have a clue what's going on. Like, you don't understand the frustrations. You aren't listening. And I think, I've taken
perfect word you said there. Sorry to interrupt, but the perfect word you said there was really, really simple, and it's listening. It's if you want the best out of your team, I'm really lucky. I've got a team of 5 people now, and I think every single one of them would accept that the one thing I try and always do, I'm not saying I always do it perfectly, but is listen. Like, just listen. You don't need to agree. You don't need to accept. Just listen. And I think that's what some people, if you want to make that move from a manager to a leader, that's the one skill I think that people need to learn. Because if you listen to me and then we have a conversation that you say, well, look, that can't affect next time. But this is how I can help make sure it doesn't. Then perfect. I'm not going to walk away from that conversation going, well, I've just got told off, or I hate you, or I don't want to do my work, and any of that sort of stuff. I'll walk away from that conversation going, do you know what? My manager's listened to me. I understand where he's coming from, and he's going to help me in the future to do better. Where's the downside?
Yeah, and I think, I've had a couple of times where I've gone, right, I should have handled that in a totally different way. And I think one thing that I've been bad for in the past is maybe being a little bit overreactive instead of being proactive. Not proactive. What's the word? Maybe, backing the team to the hill, and there's something in it, and you're like, this isn't the right setting, or this actually isn't the right decision, but you're so invested in X, Y, Z, and you make a decision. You make a call, and I think, like, for leaders, managers, entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs, especially when it comes, and because we are in this situation, when it comes to business owners, I'm putting together a board of advisors, which we've discussed. I wanted to get your thoughts on it, and it's something that I'm putting together purely because of you need everyone that's one for me who are a few years ahead and got more knowledge, experience. That's why I want to do it, to help sort of mentor me, if you want to say it that way. But you need to make quick decisions and make it. And the only person's head it goes on when it's your money, it's your business, it's your brand, it's your reputation, is me, you, anyone else out there.
Yeah.
And I think people don't understand the magnitude of that at times.
I think I definitely think there's two key things there that I definitely agree with. And I think, one thing I think we need to stop doing is being not as business, I mean this just like corporations in general.
Yeah.
Is like, you don't go one day into an office and that's it, you're a leader that day. Like, that doesn't happen. It comes over time. You are going to make mistakes. People, you are going to make calls. I've made hundreds of wrong calls. You're going to make wrong calls. It's just happened. But you're right. Like, when you become a business owner, and this goes back to kind of what we were saying earlier on about businesses struggling to pivot and stuff like that as well. It becomes so much harder because it's on you, and it's your money, your reputation, all that sort of stuff down the line. And I think it's why, in two ways, I think it's why owning a business is such a great learning experience. But in the same sense, I actually think it's one of the hardest learning experiences you're ever going to go through. When
there's no one
get
there.
in front of them,
there's no one there to
which is
if you've had a bad week, right?
Well,
which
yeah,
we're in sales, right? If you don't hit your numbers, you can come in on Monday and you've got your plan of action from Friday at 4:00 that you've written up and going, right, this is my list for next week. Boom, I'm going to come in, I'm going to do this. I've got all my data sorted. I've got all my lists sorted. I'm going to phone this person at this time. I'm going to do my callbacks and blah, 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 right? You can do that. You're still getting paid, right? You've had a bad week. Your KPIs haven't been hit, but you come in and you go again. When it's, like we just said, when it's you, there's no one there. And, your manager can say, right, do you know what? It's not been a great week there, Jordan, but here's a smart target. Here's, how did you think it was? You tell me about the week. Why didn't you get there? What can we do next week to this be a better week, a more positive week?
Yeah.
When it's you, I can have that conversation in a mirror, but someone's going to think I'm a madman.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't have a talking parrot. I don't have,
I think as well, like, there's no different perspective. Even if you did speak in the mirror, you only have your perspective. And when you say things to yourself, like, you've known me a long time, and if anyone that I've ever worked for or worked with beforehand, they probably know I'm really, really hard on myself. But it's, you can say, I'm really hard on myself. Right, great, and then you move on because it's like there's no different perspective there, because like sometimes you need that different. For example, I ran an event last week for Habigar Digital that I do I work for as well, and I didn't think the event was that good. I thought my speaking and stuff wasn't as good as it could have been. But you know, the feedback I got was fantastic, and the people that I did the event with thought it was really good, and the numbers we got from it were very good. Now, that just shows you a complete perspective of you can think tunnel vision of, oh, this was the greatest thing since sliced bread, this was the worst thing ever. When actually you start to speak to other people, they go, well, yeah, not saying there isn't improvements, but actually that was quite good, or this part was good, or this is what people were interested in. We did that, and I think that's what it's harder when you're a business owner, and I think that's one of the fantastic things about you wanting to put together an advisory board, because I think having other people around you that have not necessarily no skin in the game, but like can just be honest and sit and say, even have that level of accountability where you can go at that meeting and they go, well, Jack, you said you were going to get 27 delis for that event. Why did you only get 20? And we both know you come out with every excuse under the sun. But
100%.
But the fact they've just said that makes you go, right, okay.
Yeah,
why
then I go over to my forecast sheets and I go, well, this is why, and this is why the marketing funnel didn't land, and all these excuses that salespeople love to come out with because it's everyone
really
else's fault apart from ours, isn't it?
Yes. I'm really sorry. Every office in the UK get hit by a meteor, but they're all fine now. Don't worry, I'll do it next week. Unfortunately,
I think for me, because obviously I'm not looking to step back. I'm looking to step back from. So there's a couple of things in the sort of in the foundations, if you want to speak, that I will be stepping back from sort of the daily marketing, the daily bits and bobs that take up so much of my time, which I spend probably half, if not more, of my weekend, pretty much every weekend, working. And there's things that you want to do. There's other things that I want to go and do and experience. And I think for me, the advisory board's great. It makes some accountability, but it's at a high level. And, you have the plans in place to maybe help develop other people and to develop the business on its own sort of organically without me having to be on, and like what we said, wearing all these different hats, that you can sort of not push things about, and because at the end of the day it's all has to come through me. I still have to make the decisions. I still have to decide what events are we going to do in what country, and what is the market research looking like, what's the feedback like from events, what is the cost for a venue to put into a ROI, just things like this, to say, right, actually none of this, right? So me doing, and I'm not saying it's not important, but we both know my views on social media. I hate it. I can't get my head around it. I can't work out LinkedIn ads. It's just not my bag at all, right? I've got no patience.
My company completely revolves around that, but that's fine.
I know yours does, right? But and mine should as well. But I've just not got the patience. I've not got. It's one thing, I love marketing, and I love. So no, I don't want to say old school, right? But I love, football boards. I love things that maybe are just a little bit old school, but still have an element in today's market. And you need to have both. You have to have digital and you have to have traditional. And if that be like a radio ad and stuff like that, it's stuff that I can do. Ask me to put together a LinkedIn ad, can't do. Google ads, I can do that. But like, I think my niece or nephew could do a Google ads. But I think, and you're lucky. You've got 5 really great people around you, and I think.
You
need other people around you to make decisions a little bit easier, because that one.
I think it's about different expertise. Yeah, it's about different expertise, because Jack, know me well enough. I'm a salesperson. I'm that is what I am. Sales and strategy. There you go. There's Jordan's 2 expertise, and that and talking absolute nonsense. But
I'm not saying in a condescending way, by the way. I agree. Well, maybe.
Thanks.
Maybe a lot.
Thanks for clarifying. But yeah, I've managed to put together a team of people out of nowhere, if I'm being honest, where I've 2 or 3 coders now that are fantastic at what they do. They get stuff done so quickly and on time, but one of them also deals with our sustainability, and she's fantastic in that way. I've got a social media expert that's worked for, like political parties and stuff, doing their social media and stuff, and that's been great. So we've managed to put no, I'm not.
No.
We've managed to kind
Our
of put
listeners
together.
can figure out that one.
So we've managed to put together a team that, when it comes to marketing, or when it comes to sales, when it comes to strategy, when it comes to tech, we can be there for each other. And I think, to just expand on what you're saying, that still doesn't mean we're going to get it right. Like, that's,
No.
you can have 50 people and we could all say X, but Y could be the correct direction. But it helps. It gives you that accountability. It gives you that conversation of understanding why that worked and why it didn't work. And that's why I think, like, an advisory board, I would actually advise any business to do it. If you think you can get enough people with enough experience that are happy to come on and give you that help, then
just once a quarter, just to share, like, to go over, your quarter results and what's there for the future, and what is your opinion X, like, what's everyone's questions, like that accountability. Because if you have to go into that every single quarter, you want, and it's human nature that, if you're going in and everything is red line and it's going down instead of green line going up, you're going to be like, what's going on here? And it's going to make you a little bit more self-conscious on your own decisions. Right, what are we doing? Like, why is this happening? Looking at your SWOT analysis, looking at things that you need to look at to grow. And I've had this discussion with you, like, many a times, like, I want to go to every single country in the world. I want to be the event professional development company in the world. There's that many out of them. I could name like 4 of them right now, and probably no one would know who they are, but they turn over millions every single year. And they're in numerous countries. They're doing really well. But I think as smaller companies, you're agile. You can make a quick thing. You can look at your competition and you can go, actually, I really like what you're doing, but I want to do this, that, and the other. And that's one thing that I've definitely taken from past roles, from past customer service experience. Well, I don't want to class myself as customer service leader, because I am definitely more on the sales side, but customer experience wise, because customer service and customer experience are very, very different things. They blend together, but
no, if they're done right, they're very, very different things, in my opinion.
But and that's where sort of come onto it, because obviously I've managed you on a one-to-one level. You have managed people on a one-to-one level, and I think it's very difficult at times to go from a manager, leader, to go in the other way when you're trying to maybe not. I hate the word taking a step back, but at times you need to take a step back to take a step forward. And
well, we both done that in our career. I definitely have. My first kind of sales role led me to running an entire team in a different city, which was phenomenal. And I was far too young to do it, and again burned myself out, as I kind of said earlier on. But it was a fantastic experience that gave me the skills I had. I then, if you wanted to put it that way, took that step back and went and worked for a company with one permanent employee and helped build different events all across the country and different sports. And then we pivoted to esports, which I helped a lot in. I then started a business, but then again I arguably stepped back because I took a sales role that I personally think a monkey could have done. And it, like
unmanaged.
Unmanaged. Yeah. And a lot of people, I know for a long time, were people that I'd really respect were like, "What are you doing?" And I've spoke to you, Jack. Like I've been lucky enough to be headhunted a few times, and I had people asking me, "Oh, like I can offer you this and I can offer you that," but that wasn't what I needed right then. What I needed was a job that paid me, that I was happy with, my manager, my team, everyone was happy with what I could do while focusing on my business. And if I hadn't done that, BizPix wouldn't be where it is at this moment in time. And that's why I kind of going back earlier on to what I was saying as well. It's about goals. Like if you're a young professional or a young entrepreneur or whatever you are, don't just go, well, I'm 26 and my friend has a Ferrari and I don't. Like, don't do that. That's
Yeah,
so
don't be
silly.
that person. Yeah.
No, like,
Yeah, I think
understand
you get
what's
in that trap. You know what I
important
mean?
to
And
you.
I'll be honest. Like, you go on Facebook, you go on Instagram, and the one thing, right? And if anyone does take anything out of this, is if you are running a business, you do not get the opportunity to go through Facebook and Instagram every 20 minutes. Like, you don't see it. But now when I do go on it, like, I hear about houses, pregnancies, people are getting married, like all in my age group, and I'm like, what the hell is happening here? But like, my goals are very much, this is what I want to get, and then
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. Do you know what? It might, pure and simply, it might not happen, and
Mhm.
I'm quite happy and content with that, because you'd rather go into the trenches, get your hands dirty, and go, well, I've learned this, I've learned that, it didn't work, and again, you hear all these stats of, it takes five business, people, entrepreneurs have like five businesses before the fifth one is successful, and all this rubbish.
Yeah.
Like,
Is it 631 tech businesses failed in the UK last year?
yeah,
Off of like 3,000 starting. But this is going back. It's like, it's okay to fail, if that makes sense. No one's liking it. No one in the world, like, I think this is really important to say as well. Not one person on the planet, okay, is going to fail at the business and then go, oh well, right, on the next one. You're going to feel awful for at least
unless,
48 hours
yeah,
at minimum.
there's a word for people that do that, but
Yeah, well,
yeah,
um,
I think it's like, there's a quote that I've seen a few times on LinkedIn and other bits and bobs, which is, like, do it, because 90% or 99% of the people don't. Like, 99% of the people go, oh, I really want to start a business. And I was in that for a while, going, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to start a business. Everything went tits up in Oz. And I thought, all right, well, I'll come back. I'm going to start a business. And I'm sitting there going, and I think I had a beer that night, and I go, do you know what, bugger it, I'm doing this and I'm all in. Like, and
mhm.
you need to do that, because I've learned so much about myself, about communication, how do you liaise with senior execs, because I have to speak to them to get people in their teams to come to my courses. So I need to be able to speak
Yep.
to a CFO, and I've done it previously, but UK to Australia, New Zealand, which is primarily what my expertise was in, very different. Similar
Yeah.
backgrounds, obviously, but different cultures and all that. And I could use the accent when I was in Oz and New Zealand, and oh yeah, the weather's nicer over there, isn't it? And
Yeah.
all that rubbish, right? Because that's what the patter was, and it was garbage. Talking about the weather. Who wants to hear about the weather? But they loved it because you had the accent. Here, I can't
Yeah.
phone someone in a Glasgow head office and go, "Oh, Jesus, you like my accent?" They'll think I'm mad, bonkers. Like,
Joe, can you try that video and then post that out? That would
I'll
be
do
quite
it, right?
amusing
I'll
for
see what
everyone to hear.
happens, right? But you know,
That'll be like that'll be a sold out event. But I do. Oh, you Jack. But we'll take it all.
yeah, take all the seats. Yeah, boom, that's me retired. But I do think people just need to get in, and do you know what, that could be like, I don't know, a button shop or whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how big you want it, right? But say if you build a website, do a marketing funnel, or not even a marketing funnel, do a marketing strategy, write it down. This is what you want to do, and you need to create your posts and all this, right? It takes hours, right? But then you figure out, actually, there's this tool that I can do it, and it takes me 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's the thing. Since I don't want to make this all about myself, but when I started BizPix, I don't mind telling anyone I'm not a coder. Like, that doesn't thing me. I started with an idea. I put together a really rough business plan, and I spoke to a couple of people in the industry, and I went, right, what do you think? No, actually, that could work. And from there, I had to build an entire team. In the last 2 years, I've learned, you know, how to build a team. As you said, market funnel, sales strategy. Whether it's social media or traditional marketing. Basic things like how to work QuickBooks and that sort of stuff. And the thing is, I
zero.
don't feel
Oh,
like.
zero. It's
But this
not
is the thing. I
anyway.
don't feel like But so many people go, oh, like they want to be at this stage, and they're here, and that's okay. And as I kind of said before, and one thing I really, really encourage like young business owners in general, if my business doesn't work, like we're on a very upward trajectory right now, so I don't think we're not there. But if my business didn't, and all came crashing down the other day, I know I'm going to the employer and going, well, like 2 years ago I had this skill set, which I was quite happy with, but now I have this skill set. Now I'm like, it doesn't matter what you need me to do in this business, I have at least some experience doing this.
And then it's easier to talk to stakeholders in the business and all this type of stuff, right? Which is so important, especially in corporations.
You become so agile. It becomes when you're sitting in board meetings and stuff, and it's like, oh, we need someone to do this, and you go, well, I've done that. We need someone to put together a CRM or find a CRM. Right, I've done that. We need someone to put together a Mars. Right, I've done that. We need someone.
You're giving me nightmares, mate. You're giving me nightmares.
Oh well, but that's the thing. Oh, we need someone to go. We need someone to do some, like speak at an event. Right, I've done that. Like these are things that you build and build and build. That when everyone else is sitting there because they might never have taken that risk that you did. You had a business that didn't work. You're sitting there going, yeah, of course, like, yeah, that'll take me 20 minutes. Where other people that haven't ever taken that risk don't know. Like, and you'll really, really quickly find that in top level organizations, a lot of those people have taken risks in their past. Some haven't, and that's just because they're so good at what they've done. But some people, like a lot of people and top board executives on things like, like what you're talking about doing and stuff, it's the people that 10 years ago went, well, I'm going to try this. And whether it worked or not didn't really matter. But
and when that, they went back, like, it could, like, because I know we're talking a lot about like business owners here, right? But taking risks, as if you're head of a department, take a risk every now and again. Like, I've done it. Done it with our team, like, and I took some ballsy risks, trying to get to where we needed to be and try out things that, do you know what? I've read about it, I've heard about it, I've never had the opportunity to do it, but let's try it. Let's see if this works. And do you know what?
Yeah, like,
it's not going to work every time, like we've already said. But if you do that one risk, you don't know how that's going to propel your career. And I think, being honest with your team, and that's one thing that I will always be, and I think I've said it, before, that will finish up as well, that I was probably too honest at times, and that's something that I think you need to learn as a leader. And you know what, there is some things that are, high level you can't go into because, there's maybe a product launch day, or there is a reason behind it from a legal standpoint or something. You just can't say anything. But I think, when it comes to targets, and this is very salesy, obviously, but, I think, and I don't want to just say salesy, actually. I think every department, I think this is where one thing that we got really right at the energy company was there was targets in place, and, that was from head of sales, but that has to be distributed down to, when we were doing that entire, when I was running that entire inbound department, everyone knew without even thinking, when they came into a one-to-one, they knew what their sales target was. They knew if I asked any point throughout the day, they would know what their numbers were. And everyone was open about it. Everyone seen them every day. Everyone got the emails. Everyone seen what was happening. And I think that's something that at times in the past that I've worked in organizations that, I've done a couple of, I don't want to say consulting because it sounds a bit off, but, I've done it, and, I've done one just before there in Christmas, and it was amazing to see how people or leadership thought a team wasn't doing well because of X. And actually it wasn't. They just didn't know what their job was. They didn't know because they didn't have any set parameters. They weren't having team meetings every day. They were getting a team meeting every month. They were getting a one-to-one every 2 months. And these are things that, not just in sales, but customer service, marketing, R&D, anything. And this is where that accountability comes in, because if you know this is my target, which is X, I'm speaking to my manager next Wednesday at or Monday or Tuesday, typically when a one-to-one should be done,
Yeah.
basic leadership. But anyway, I won't get into that. But they know they're coming to you with their target, boom, done, in the bag, let's move on. And they know it's going to be an open conversation.
But that's it does, and we've highlighted a couple of keywords like while we've been talking, like things like honesty, listening, like like being upfront and just if you want to transition between being a manager and a leader or an employee to a business owner or whatever it is, whatever you want to do, I feel these are the key things you need to be able to do. And again, going back to what we said earlier on, it's like you're going to get it wrong, and that's okay. But obviously, when we worked together, there was a lot of things that I'm not going to name names or anything, but there was lots of things that we seemed to think were wrong. And actually, looking back on it, it was actually that the things weren't necessarily wrong. What was happening was there wasn't honesty, there wasn't listening, there wasn't oh, okay, this is what the customers are saying. We're going to put that back to kind of, upper management. Okay, well, they've said that doesn't matter. And then you go, right, well, that's why we've got these big piles of complaints or this or that. And this is why I think, business owners are going to, as we said earlier on, there's going to be massive change in the corporate world, and I think it's going to affect business owners and employees an awful lot. And what people need to not be scared to do is take that risk, but in the exact same sense of not being able to take that risk, keeping core things that they believe in. And if they keep if you go into your workplace and you're honest, I'm not saying don't be tactful because it's something I don't think people understand, but be honest, be tactful, listen to when someone's actually speaking to you, and work, as smart as you can, not as hard as you can, as smart as you can.
Yeah.
Then you're going to find that success. And it might not be in your first business, your first role, it might be 10 down the line, but as long as you're constantly learning and constantly keeping your values and together in what you're doing, you will eventually find it, because they're the things that people do respect. And I've had the opportunity to work with a gentleman who owned, I think it was 3 businesses in and out he'd done. One was a fairly good success. The other 2 didn't really work, but wealth of knowledge, absolute wealth of knowledge that every single time, if I had a question or whatever, he could answer it. And I'm not saying he was always right, but he would be the first to admit that. And I think that's what we need to be encouraging, especially kind of, management, entrepreneurs. I think we need to be encouraging them to keep these values intact as they kind of learn and take those risks. And then hopefully they should, become pretty successful people.
Yeah, I think listening is the biggest thing. Listening as well, so crucial in a lot of aspects in life. But this, I'm just looking at the time there, and we could keep going for another easy, I reckon,
another hour minimum.
I've got a meeting, mate, in 45 minutes, and I want to potentially get myself ready for that. But I think what we just touched on there, just to quickly recap, and we've talked loads, mate. I didn't want this really scripted or structured, and you don't want to do that, because
I'm happy to come on and just chat. And I think we covered a lot of different topics, but the topics we covered, I think, are important things. Hopefully they'll be important for your listeners, and I think it's. I think it tied in really well with what I'm doing right now, and I think it ties in really well with what you're doing as well. So I enjoyed it being more free flow. So thank you.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you on. I hope, obviously, BizPix flourishes beyond what you imagine, what I would like to see it to be. I'm very much happy, mate, to be your head of commercial sales, whatever, in the future when it's a big unicorn. I've got no time at the moment. I'm, like I said, working full-time, business, everything in between. So thanks again for coming on last minute. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jack. Cheers.
Right. Have a good night. And thanks for listening to the podcast, everyone.